Hey guys, Ravisher here, and I want to do a quick overview of the Far Cry 3 multiplayer interface because I know it can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming at first, and I know it was for me. When I first started playing, I didn't really know what was going on, and I kind of wished that there was something on the internet at the time that I could have read that would explain things. So, for those of you who are still working on the single player but plan on getting into the multiplayer, I'm making this video in hopes of helping you guys so you can figure things out a little bit quicker than I did when you start playing Far Cry. So if you hit left thumbstick, as you can see, you go to My Setup, and you have a few options. First is your profile, and your profile is an overview of all your stats, but if you see on the right here, it's also your team support and your final move. Team support or kill streak, so you have your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and it's nice and simple, and I like it this way, is you have scouts, which is UAV, and decoy scouts, which is kind of a twist on counter UAV, where instead of blocking your enemy's radar, it just kerfuffles it. In tier 2, you have poison gas, smoke gas, and sight gas. Poison gas is really useful. I've seen it used. It slows and disorients and damages enemies. Smoke blast probably won't be used very much just because smoke screen, and people like to go with offensive kill streak usually. And then sight gas is what we've seen in trailers where it confuses and disorients your enemies. Tier 3, barrel bomb, propane dive, and bombshell. I'm assuming bombshell is probably like the biggest, like a massive explosion, which will be pretty cool. So when I unlock that, I'll probably put up a video. But anyways, getting on to the important things when you back out is the loadouts. So at first, the loadouts can seem really confusing. So as you see here, these are my custom loadouts. You can create as many loadouts as you want. I actually haven't tested if there's a limit, but I've created 5 or 6 and it's worked. So right now I only have 4. So if we create a new loadout, I'll go over exactly how and what you can customize. So as you can see here, there are 5 options. The first is your primary weapon, and you can scroll through the various classes with your bumpers on the top. You have your assault rifles, your SMGs, your LMGs, your snipers, and your shotguns. So basically, it's all what you would expect. All the single player weapons are here. Same with all the SMGs. But once you select a weapon, so let's say, okay, let's use the AK because I really like the AK. First are mods. Now these are kind of confusing. At first I'm like, what the fuck are these? And as you can see, they're all locked. So if we back out for a second and we go to the setup menu, you see decoding. So when you win games, you will get rewarded with, I guess you'd say, memory cards or whatever. So my decoder 1, as you can see, I can select from various memories. So CD, flash drive, DVD, memory card, hard drive. So by winning games, you're awarded randomly. Obviously, the weighting for CD is high, flash drive is pretty high, DVD is kind of rare. I have only got 1 or 2. Memory card is really rare, and hard drives are like the ultra rare items. So once you unlock them, you select them, and then you start decoding, and the rarer the item, the longer it takes to decode. But once it decodes, you're either rewarded with XP or a modification. So if we go back into the loadouts, we go to our AK class. As you can see here, these are the modifications. So there's no way of unlocking them. They have to be unlocked through decoding. And the odds of getting the one you want are astronomical because every weapon has all these different modifications. And if you're lucky enough to get a modification through decoding, then it could be anything. Like I think I've only gotten 2, one for the shotgun and one for some other weapons. So I don't really know exactly what these do. As you can see in the bottom, they do affect the weapon performance a little bit. So maybe they are either like a little bit extra damage, a little bit less recoil. But as I say, they're really hard to get. So haven't really paid much attention to them. You have your typical sights. You have your sound suppressor and your heavy barrel. So these are basically barrel modifications. You have your ammo modifications. So steel core rounds, reduced recoil, and hot rounds. And you have your extended magazine. Now, if you see on the left here, you have 2 black boxes. So the AK can be customized with 2 things. So if I want to put a red dot sight or a reflex sight on my gun, that takes up a slot. So I can do red dot sight and heavy barrel. But if I also want my extended magazine, it has to replace my red dot sight. So there's actually an advantage for using iron sights, which I think is awesome. And another thing I really like about this game is that I know how Call of Duty advertises, oh, you can customize your weapon so it feels like your weapon. But in Far Cry 3, they really take that to a new level because you can really customize the performance of your weapon by adding something like reduced recoil rounds or hot rounds. I was playing with heavy barrel, which increases accuracy, and hot rounds, which increases damage. And like The AK-47 with these two is so hard to use, but it deals so much damage, and that's just that suits my playstyle because I really like a hard to use, high damage gun. But if you're somebody who maybe prefers a gun that's a little bit more accurate, then you can just put on your reduced recoil rounds, and instead of putting on the heavy barrel, maybe put on a sight. So it's really fun because the weapon you like, let's say you like the AK-47, it's not predetermined by the developers how it performs. If you like an AK-47 that deals a huge blow, then you can just put on hot rounds. But if you prefer it to be a little more controllable, you can put on reduced recoil rounds. So I think that's really awesome what they've done, and I think a lot of other developers should take from that because from what I've played of the Far Cry 3 multiplayer, this has been the feature that has impressed me the most because it makes it a lot of fun to use the weapons. And trust me, when I say there's increased recoil with these hot rounds, as you guys will probably see with some gameplay that I post up of me using them, it is hard to manage, but it deals a huge punch. So that's pretty cool. And then back to class customization, you have other options. Secondaries, I mean, pretty standard. You got your pistols, you got your launchers, and your bows, like your flare gun, and your other specialty weapons. Again, I haven't lost that many of them, so I can't really speak to that. But pretty standard customization. You have your various options here, as you can see. You have your ammo modifications, magazine, barrel. But again, with the pistols, you only get one black box, so you only have one customization you can put on. Equipment, again, there's 3 equipment options, but there's only 2 black boxes. So you have your body stuff like bandolier or light body armor. I think everybody's gonna be using heavy body armor once it comes out. And then for the second, you can either use C4 proximity mine or a grenade. So your decisions between the two. I use grenade, but if you prefer C4, then go for it. With your skills, again, 3 sets of skills, but only 2 black boxes. So you have your weapon skills like faster reload and snap shooting, and you have your hunter skills, and then you have support skills. I don't think that many people use support skills. I think the biggest decision is between your weapon and your hunter skills. So you have stuff like snap shooting and faster reload, and you have your hunter skills like speed boost, sixth sense, and soundproof. Again, various modifications to gameplay like reducing the sound of your footsteps, letting you know when you wander into enemies on a site. So it's kind of like illuminates the enemy, and then your speed burst increases your sprint, walk, and crouch speed. Again, uh, I really like to run faster reload, and speed burst is really nice because I feel the characters run kind of slow, so increasing your sprint, watch, and crouch speed is really useful. The last option you have is battlecry. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the deal with those are, but again, haven't unlocked focus and haste, but I've just been running toughness. I think battlecry is kind of a little bit of a lame feature. I don't really see that many people using them that effectively, and I haven't really noticed them impacting gameplay. But just to sum it up, the main thing that was confusing for me at first was all the weapon modifications you have to choose from is making sure that you realize that you only get 2 that are in effect over the left. So I was going through my weapons saying, okay, I want a red dot sight, I want a heavy barrel, I want reduced recoil rounds, and then I want my standard magazine, without even realizing the left that I had only ended up choosing 2 options. So make sure you guys are aware of that. And then if you want modifications, again, it comes down to sheer luck as to what you get through the decoding process. So I hope that helped you guys out. I'm going to simultaneously upload a little bit of gameplay with that AK-47 with hot rounds and heavy barrel, just so you guys can see how damaging but hard to use it is, and just to show you guys how much customization you have with your weapons in Far Cry 3. And I'll probably also put up a impressions video. So I hope this helped you guys out. A lot of you guys that are still playing single player but that haven't jumped into multiplayer should be a little bit more clear. And stay tuned for a lot more Far Cry.